Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.
On this episode of Audiobook Club, Shark Attack.
We were on holiday at a beach where my family camped every year. I'm standing in the water with a friend. I don't see it. I feel it. A force so powerful and unexpected. A shark attack is like being hit by a knife attached to a freight train. I've never been on the receiving end of such searing pain as its teeth go deeper and deeper. It locks its mouth around my torso, just above my waist on my right side. It feels like it's trying to get inside me, pushing deeper, trying to rip my stomach, that chunk of me, away. I'm trapped. It starts shaking me the way a dog shakes a toy, back and forth, trying to force me under the water. I go under once and struggle to my feet, then a second time, and a third. This third time I start to take in ocean water, and the thought occurs to me. Oh, it's trying to drown me. I could drown. Like, I thought in a shark attack you'd die from the attack, but now there's a whole new way to die I hadn't realized.
Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.
Hello and welcome to Audiobook Club, the podcast about audiobooks that knows that nobody likes a grass. Well, actually, Matt, I think we do, don't we? We really like this grass, don't we, eh?
We do. But from the age of about 2, my daughter Wizzy, I always said to her, nobody likes a grass, when she tried to tell on her sister. Introduce prison language at an early age, just in case she needs it in the future. But her response until this day, 11 years later, is, cows eat grass, Daddy.
Yeah, she's true. She's not wrong. She's not wrong. But,
so listen, no, I will not be still. You must let my voice be heard. Do not try and take away my voice. You have already censored us this week. We're not meant to be doing this book. We're meant to be doing the somewhat racy Want by Gillian Anderson. But you basically bottled it.
Well, yes. Well, I had a discussion. We were going to have a podcast reviewing Want by Gillian Anderson with a guest joining us, which is a friend of mine from down the road called Lauren, who's reading it. And we will invite Lauren onto the show. But as I was talking to her the other night, and we were talking about preparing for the podcast, and actually the more she spoke about the book, the more I got the fear that you and I, with the greatest of respect, and you know how much I respect you after the last 5 years or so of doing this podcast, and even 6 years of doing this podcast, is that we might be the wrong people to tackle this particular book, because it just wouldn't sit comfortably, and I suspect we might lose the listener we have by agreeing on different sexual fantasies with each other. It would just change our dynamic and our relationship. So yes, I'm sure it's a very good book. Let us know what you thought. We'll read them out and obviously not go red with social English or awkwardness or anything. But as luck would have it... No,
stop.
What?
You have to do penance.
Don't stifle me. Oh, go on then.
You have to do penance for your censorship, for your authoritarian, autocratic ways. You'll notice in the script...
I'm not doing the marrow thing again.
In the script... under the section Bants, there is a quote that you read me last week. And if we're going to go any further with this podcast, I need you to read out that quote.
Okay, so here's what you missed had we done this particular podcast. It goes as follows. I do not understand the complaints from some people. It's not vanilla. There's BDSM, spanking, milking, gender bending, fetishes, lesbian and trans representation, even alien tentacles. No language is omitted. The only things omitted purposely are the things that will be illegal/wrong. I'm trying to read that in the style of a BBC One continuity announcer, just to try and gloss over the content of what I've just said. Coming next, the One Show. Tonight on One.
Sorry, I am a child, but I think that indicates, actually, my giggling indicates that you were probably right. I don't think we're quite grown up enough to have addressed that book. But
pushing 50.
By accident, no, I'm past 50, mate. By accident, on Monday, we had a sort of an emergency discussion about it. And I went, oh, look, there's a book that's in the new release pile in Audible and also in the top charts pile. That's very unusual because normally the top 10 on Audible is Harry Potter and a Richard Osman.
It's an outlier, this.
Yeah, so we are going to do what is probably the book of the moment, to be honest. One of our cultural references here is normally, we do listen to Mr. Osman when he's talking about stuff on his podcast, and on Tuesday morning, 12 hours after we'd made our decision, he was indeed talking about this very book. Can you tell us what it is, please, Steve?
So this week, dear listener, we are reviewing Careless People, a story of where I used to work. And it's by the probably most prominent Facebook whistleblower to date. And that's Sarah Wynn-Williams, the author and also the reader of the book. It only came out just a week or so ago as we record on the 13th of March, and 13 hours and 16 minutes out of Macmillan. And if you've got a copy of it, you're pretty lucky because Facebook, like a shot, did all sorts of legal action after it was published and Sarah was going around promoting it. So, obviously the words sort of horse and bolted and stable door sort of spring to mind. But and apparently they've got an injunction going on at the moment in the States, but not in the UK. So you can go out, listen to it. She's been on all sorts of doing the interview rounds as well, talking about the book. And so, yes, so this book is it's like gold. It's like dynamite.
So were you aware of, you said she was a prominent Facebook whistleblower. Were you aware of her before this book came out? Because I wasn't.
No, I wasn't. I'd heard sort of when you're sort of reading in passing that there was a book coming out by someone at Facebook about how things were at Facebook. And it's very, like I say, not for the first time, but the previous sort of whistleblowers have been generally put, I guess, sort of lower down the food chain at Facebook in terms of the hierarchy. But Sarah Wynn-Williams was working directly with Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, and was really on the front line of it all and saw it all. So everything that you heard Mark Zuckerberg saying in, Congress hearings and what have you, this was shall we say, Sarah Wynn-Williams' truth as to what really happened. And some of the stuff in this book, from the very first few seconds of listening to this audiobook, it became unturn-offable, the audio version of You Can't Put It Down. It was compelling right from the start. Not since Yellowface, actually, have I sort of felt like this is dynamite from the get-go.
That's big from you. That was your book of 2024. So that's big words from the big man there. So before you go too far and, ruin the whole point of this of the review is we get half an hour in. Do we recommend? Mind you, we recommend everything, don't we? We will be using our patent pending 3-step audiobook review process to help us in the endeavour of reviewing and recommending this book. We'll be talking a little bit about the author. That's stage 1. We'll look at the text of the book itself, what was actually writ. And then 3, the audiobook production and experience, and does it being an audiobook add anything, which it normally does. So would you like a clip, Steve?
Yeah, play on.
All right. So, you know what? I can't play the clip because the clip is from chapter 28, and it took my breath away, primarily for professional reasons. So I'll do the author first, and then as we get onto the book, I'm going to play you clip 2, which is called Come to Bed. Sarah Wynn-Williams is a New Zealand-born lawyer, public policy expert, and author. She was formerly the Director of Public Policy at Facebook. She was born in Christchurch. She went to university at the University of Canterbury in New Zealand, where she studied law. quite a driven individual. She went to work at the UN partly because she wanted to save the world. As a New Zealand, there's quite a strong environmental awareness down there, and she wanted to go and make a difference on a global scale, in the environmental stuff, and ended up helping to write treaties, which she found a little boring. And apparently somebody turned to her in a meeting at one point and went, you know what's done more for environmental protection than any of this? She went, no, what's that? Nemo, the fish they had to find, has done more good work for the cleanliness of the seas than the sum total of all UN charters. And when she realised she was a bit of a chocolate teapot there, she quit. And then she went to work for Facebook, and she had an ideological reason for wanting to do it, which was she thought, you know, this is genuinely a powerful grassroots political tool. She realised that wasn't the case, but for some reason, and I think it's a combination of, as her husband points out, Stockholm syndrome, and also, I should imagine the pay was quite good, and also the exciting places where she got to go. It took her 7 years to leave Facebook, and she was booted out. So she started working for them in 2011, became Global Public Policy Director, and Facebook terminated her employment in 2017 because of alleged poor performance and toxic behaviour. So
hard was marked, wasn't it?
Well, and indeed, the line is Williams has stated that she believes this was in relation to reporting her boss for sexual harassment. And yeah, that's what we're told in the book. We're told what really happened and what lies behind those lines, some of which are from Wikipedia, I'll admit. You know, what was really going on in the Facebook building, and not only the dubious motivations, but also the actually quite freaky sexual harassment stuff as well. When Mr. Osman on The Rest Is Entertainment referred to this book, he said the interesting thing was that this book has been entirely secret. This book is so big, it's in supermarkets. It's very rare for books to get into supermarkets, particularly non-fiction ones. But because Pan Macmillan are trusted and have a relationship with supermarkets, which you don't normally go to buy a book, you just pick one up and throw it in the basket, they'll probably only have 10 or 20 different titles. They managed to keep it secret until the book came out. And as you say, the strange thing is it's got into the book charts, even though she can't promote it. So yeah, it's a big and important book. And I have to say that I'm going to go to clip 2 now. There was a bit where if I'd have been holding a cup of tea, I'd have dropped it. If I'd had tea in my mouth, I'd have spat it out. Just a sentence, even after, 28 chapters after the shark attack, that just shocked me. And I look forward to your response to this.
But it's better if you rest now, so you can get back on California time, she insists. I'm okay, I respond. There is only one bed in the jet, and Cheryl is obviously using it. Sarah, come to bed. Her tone hardens. I look around at the others to check if they heard what I did. I shake my head, and she repeats her instruction. Sarah, come to bed. We're at a stalemate. I look around desperately for support from the others, but everyone's looking away.
I don't think you got that far, did you?
No, I didn't. I heard this bit though from somewhere else. And I can't remember where it was, but this moment. There are certain. I mean, this. I
hadn't heard it. I hadn't heard it, and it just hit me like a freight train out of the blue. And I think, as well as you and I being decent human beings, we've been trained up to the nostrils in what is suitable for broadcast libel law, and it's deep down in our souls. And as we've discussed already, knowing that Macmillan are a reputable organisation a long-standing publisher, hearing that shocked me to the core. I don't know if you feel the same.
Not completely. I mean, obviously, this book is the sensation is blowing the cover on the inner workings of Facebook, the personalities, their behavior, obviously, and it really does more widely speak to, we've all worked at places where behavior's been questionable, and you hear stories about this kind of thing going on all the time, unfortunately, don't you? These sort of instances where a line is constantly crossed.
We worked at one of them, Steve. We met at one of those organisations. Well,
we did, and I mean, about
the BBC,
that particular organisation is that they, out of all the organisations that are in the news because of this, they're one of the organisations that's very good at self-flagellation. So they will always beat themselves up about things and have lots of inquiries and make sure things like this don't happen again and all the rest of it. Big clunky organisations everywhere across the world, you will, but just by the law of averages, get some bad eggs in there, won't you? But it's this kind of behaviour. It's quite. This book serves another purpose, I think, to also shine a light that this sort of behaviour, even at the very top of a business, goes on. And you're not alone if you feel you're going through something like that at work yourself. Obviously, this is a very sort of unique circumstance, private plane, bed, and all the rest of it. We don't all travel on private planes. Obviously, I know you do, but
I have done. I'll send you a picture. Yeah,
I just hang on to your wing, as it were, as a serf. But
you're serving the nibbles, Phillips.
It does make me think, actually, just back to your earlier point, just before you played the clip. This is, I mean, I'm guessing that Facebook are only taking the legal action last sort of few weeks because they had no idea about this book coming out.
Exactly.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. And that's part of my point as well, is that, look, there's also there is a human thing, which is you mentioned Sheryl Sandberg. I hadn't heard of her, but by that point in the book, I had an impression of who she was. And to me, it was out of the blue. There's also a thing there, as much as you and I are not afraid of a little bit of buffoonery and smut, we do actually have very sound editorial judgment, and we know what we're doing. We know how to push things to the line and not go over. Although you sometimes think I do, I don't. But that is such a specific story about a prominent person that will have been through Macmillan's lawyers and is as near as damn it guaranteed to be true. And alongside all of the rest of the stuff in the book, turns out Facebook grew too quickly. It's like it's run by a bunch of 14-year-olds, all of that. But this actually just, that little bit, there had been gentle allusions to sexual harassment of a verbal kind from her actual direct line manager, and that comes up later in the book. If you don't want spoilers, I won't give them to you. But I think, to be honest, I guess it's slightly unusual to have a woman in the role as the abusive person. And the thing is that there was one bed on the private jet, and the chief operating officer told me to come to bed with her, and twice. And it wasn't it was the second time. It was a barked order. Now, I just assume that part of Sarah Wynn-Williams' decision here is that if she's prepared to put herself out there to that extent, if you issue a sentence like that, whether it's true or not, you are going to spend a large proportion of the rest of your life in court. If you print it. Yeah. So there's just all sorts of layers to that comment that actually made me listen to the book a second time so I could pick out that particular clip. It was, I was gobsmacked, and So that blew me away.
You have to admire Sarah Wynn-Williams. Do you think she's taking a massive risk personally by writing and publishing this book, given what Facebook could feasibly do to her, legally?
Yes, of course, but you've got to admire is not the thing for me, because I think she's going to be all right for cash now that her books are sold in supermarkets, and if they are indeed. If they all get pulped in the States, then the copy you bought on Monday, Steve, is going to, if you'd bought a traditional tree-based pulp one, then it would be an artifact that'd be worth a growing amount of money. She has achieved fame. She's a highly driven individual. Somebody said something to me once about somebody you know. She hasn't exactly drunk deeply from the milk of human kindness. She's very driven, and as I say, the thing that bothers me is that she stayed there for that long. Oh, I could have left. I thought that point was where I'd leave, but I was pregnant, so I stayed. And then she had the second baby. I thought I should leave then, but I stayed. And for somebody who set out as an idealist, I think, circumstance, money, excitement, Stockholm Syndrome kept her there. It's an interesting point in the book where she describes how Zuckerberg changed between 2011 and 2017. And her argument is when she turned up, the Zuck was not thinking about policy. He was just thinking about more users. He wasn't thinking about his role as somebody who is as powerful as the president of a country, but is going to be there for 50 years because he's got the sole ownership, and that he had a responsibility on a global level and should be talking to presidents. And she got him in front of everyone up to and including Obama. But
it's interesting, actually, right at the start of the book, and this is what really, if you haven't listened to it yet, this will get you right from the get-go. Is there's a point where she's just started her job and she's asked to organise a meeting with a Facebook hierarchy and the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and just listen to Mark Zuckerberg's reaction when he's asked to come to this meeting.
I can't remember what happened.
He didn't want to. I mean, basically...
Oh, yeah, he didn't want to. Yes, he didn't want to. And then it turned out that because he went to university in Christchurch, same as her, in fact, the Prime Minister of New Zealand knew Sarah Wynn-Williams' sister quite well because there had been an earthquake in Christchurch and Sarah Wynn-Williams' sister, Ruthie, was on the scene. So it turned out they were just having a casual conversation. And Mark Zuckerberg goes, I don't want to listen. I don't want to talk to the bloody Prime Minister of New Zealand. Who are you chatting to there? Prime Minister of New Zealand. Who are you chatting to in the corridor at work? Like you're gassing about last night's telly. And in fact, the fact that you're going to be a bridesmaid at your sister's wedding. Oh, that's the president of my country. But it's, but the whole thing is he changes. So she starts to show him how stuff can be done. She gets him speaking to all these powerful people. And she basically says, whereas I started off being an idealist, by the end of it, he didn't act like a decent human being when showed all of the power that he had. And when one of the Brazilian team got put in jail for working for Facebook in Brazil, his response was, can I write a post about it? But I think there's another thing where she changes as well. I think she gets lost in it. And I can't blame her. I bloomin' well would. I did, 3 years at the BBC 25 years ago. I'm still dining out on the stories of the minor celebrities that I met there.
Yeah, that's the same thing, isn't it? That's the same.
Well, but look, when just before you met, I was working at Radio 1, and you knew that as a freelancer, if you went on holiday, someone was going to come and take your place, who was younger and cheaper than you. And this is when I was 24. So I've worked in those environments. I too got booted out, but so I can understand the attraction of it, as I'm sure you can. I mean, you used to get up at 4 o'clock in the bloody morning because you worked for an organisation that you were in love with its aims and ideals. I think that's, it's not an unfamiliar story to you and me.
Yes, but I do wonder if that was the case here. I don't. This is a genuine question actually. You've done the whole book, and I only got so far just because of time and everything. It was sort of like late in the day. But did she stay because she was too psychologically manipulated by the culture there that she didn't feel she could leave, like being in a narcissistic kind of situation there where they feel imprisoned, they feel like, right is wrong, wrong is right, black is white, white is black, that sort of thing, and you can't see the wrong from the right anymore, and so she stayed there because of that. She didn't feel psychologically she could leave, maybe, or she was calculating about it and just basically went home every night writing a diary, throwing everyone under the bus for this book.
Look, she was a driven and successful person. She got to work for the United Nations as a graduate in law. That's not easy. She managed to invent a job for herself at Facebook. Her idea was, this is a great global platform where people can talk to each other and be connected. There must be a political element to this. If Mark Zuckerberg, if Facebook has a GDP bigger than many countries, and Mark Zuckerberg is the man in charge, and he's totally in charge because he has a majority shareholding, then what Facebook might need, and this is the expression she used in the first interview but had been told not to in the second, was the notion of her becoming a Facebook diplomat. So her being the roving ambassador for Facebook. So that's exciting. There's also, if I quit, particularly as I'm pregnant, which she did twice, I think she considered it while she was pregnant, it's the fear of not having your job anymore. I think the Stockholm syndrome is too. We all know people who've stayed in jobs or relationships too long. I think there are many, many different factors. I don't think it's black and white. And again, I'm not blaming her for any of it, because I'd probably done exactly the same thing, or probably have been booted out well before that. But these are the Davos crew. They are the self-proclaimed top 0.001% of the population. So, look, but all through the book, whenever you have a question like that, whenever you're going, well, why didn't she just leave? She and the people who helped write and edit this book are canny enough to drop in a little bit of preemptive self-defense, if you know what I mean. As I say, the reason I'm using the word Stockholm Syndrome is because she quotes her husband using it. So, yeah, I think there are loads of different reasons, some of which she preempts, and the text does. She's ready for all the arguments. She's a lawyer. This all happened 8 years ago, funnily enough, and I'm sure Macmillan were aware of the potential traps, and I'm sure they helped her out with it as well. But I don't know. So look, can you hear how engaged and excited I am about this book? I think
it's pretty obvious. Yeah,
we heartily recommend it, and I know you haven't quite got as far as I did, but I should imagine that you will finish this before you start next week's book, won't you?
Yep, it's gold. This book, I mean, it's just fact. You always suspect, and I started, as you know, sort of social media, Wells at the BBC.
Yes.
Back in 2007, I think now. You
started in 2007. Really, you trained me up in 2011.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was still a force for good, wasn't it?
Well, it was a journey of discovery. It was such an exciting time because obviously Facebook had been around for a while, but it was only just starting to become corporate pages as opposed to just friends reconnecting after years or whatever. And then Twitter came out, and there was just Twitter in particular, as from a journalist point of view, this was amazing. What a great resource, getting essentially just tip-offs about news stories from people in the street. Everyone instantly became a broadcaster with the advent of Twitter and platforms like that. It was great. It was a real sort of pioneering time and very sort of positive. But
you, and also please give yourself some credit. And you've won awards for this. When you were working for BBC London and you established their social media department, you combined this new world of social media with service organisation in a way that had never been done before. I don't think you give yourself enough credit for that.
Sometimes it feels like there's a guy on this show which was drama of the origins of Doctor Who, and basically there was a guy, I think it was Mervyn Pinfield his name was, and he was showing producer Verity Lambert around the studio at Lime Grove, and there was early version of the auto cue, so words coming up in the camera face, and you really could look directly in the camera and read the words. And he said, I should have got down to the patent office earlier. I invented it. And there were so many people like that who made life changing things. No, I'm not
saying you did that. I mean, but
I'm not saying that either.
It is interesting that you are so uncomfortable with a compliment that you go to your usual security blanket immediately and you suck on the grotty corner of Doctor Who.
It's a great grotty corner to suck on. Thanks very much. But but the original point, yes, it was a real pioneering time. We used all sorts of things. We did a few firsts as well, and I was really pleased about that. But to just sort of see it grow and to see what it could become, and then you play that out over the years. And this book is just an example of you kind of knew what was going on. You kind of thought there's something. Facebook these days is not a social networking platform. It is a marketplace. It's there for of course it's there for revenue, but it is not what it was at all. Before, if you put a post out and you had, say, 200 friends, right back in the day when it first started, you had 200, well, not obviously real friends, because no one's got 200 actual friends. But well, maybe that's just me.
You don't, yeah,
clearly. But you knew that post was going to be seen by all of them. Now you've got to pay for it to go out to your 200 friends, and it'll only reach a few of them, and all the rest of it. But it's about payment. It's about money. It's advertising and all the rest of it now. And but
indeed, in the context of this book, when she's head of global policy, it's gone from. There was a bit in 2016 where the Zuck on a flight from somewhere to somewhere, I can't remember where it was, had it laid out for him of how he'd helped Trump, how Facebook had won the election for Trump in 2016. And he was a little shocked by that. And it took him a while to realise that that's what he'd done. As I said, when she got there, he was looking for more subscribers and more money. And this book, obviously, because of the timescales of how long it takes to print and distribute a book, it doesn't refer to the bit where the Zuck and the Musk were sitting in front of the cabinet at Trump's inauguration earlier this year, 2025. So, it's not just that on a personal level it's changed and gone rotten. There's no way I can get excited about building up a new following on Blue Sky, because I know how the thing will end. If you know what I mean. But I think so we need to talk about the delivery of the audiobook itself. In order to do that, I have a clip here. As I say, she's disappointed that Sarah Wynn-Williams is disappointed that she's shown all the Mark Zuckerberg, all the things he can engage in, just how powerful a tool for good that Facebook could be if he pointed it in that direction. And they have a debrief on a plane, and he gets very excited, and then he works out what he wants to do next. This is her quoting him.
I'm going to visit as many states as possible. Get on the ground. Meet people. Understand what they're looking for. My antenna goes up. Mark is not someone who particularly enjoys travel, or, in fact, people. And I know he's hoping to have another baby in 2017. So this doesn't make any sense as a personal challenge. Are there any states in particular you want to go to? I asked tentatively. Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Ugh. The traditional stops for presidential candidates.
And it goes on to talk about him. He's going to have a hard hat on and visit some single mothers and drive a tractor and go and put his arms around. He's going to go to a car factory as well. So she's done all this thing to say, what how Facebook, from its own sphere, can be a force for good. And his response is, "Oh, I should be president."
Wow. I mean, this just sums up this book, isn't it? It's a stunning read. It's a real revelation in the truest sense of the word. It's that word gets.
Hold on, you've got your wind-up voice on. This is the bit where you do a little bit of rabbiting on till the end. I haven't finished yet. We haven't done the what do we think of the audio book and how it's presented.
You're reading too much into my tone.
Yeah, that's kind of my job, yeah.
It's like the Radio 4 comedy thing where they go up and for ages and then come down at the end.
Yes, but what did you? So what did you think of the narration? Was it read by the author?
Well, of course, who else could read this? I'm glad it was her. Because she felt the narrator was in the room with Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg and saw everything that went on. The narrator wrote those words, felt those emotions and all the rest of it. So it could only have been her. And she was a great narrator, to be honest with you. She could do other books, I reckon.
I found her wooden at first, but she warmed up and rolled into it later on. Again, for somebody who's attempting to do this stuff for the first time rather than a trained voice artist, she did a perfectly good job, but she doesn't cross, for me, in spite of that which is probably the most human moment in the whole book, she doesn't cross, for me, our threshold of glory, which is it a narration or performance? And I think it's just a book being read. It isn't it's not a performance. But again, does it need to be?
Yes, this is it. And once again, I'm glad that we're sticking to what's becoming now a tradition of me loving every single person who reads a book on this podcast, and you being on with a more critical eye on there. I just like narrators, I suppose, don't I?
You're also a much nicer person than I will ever be, and I've always acknowledged that.
Not at all. We both have our flaws and we have our peaks. Anyway, shall I do my wrapping up tone of voice now?
Yeah, prove me right. Go.
Well, as you say, that was a great read, Matt. What a great book that was. So
Bimble, 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 bimble.
Bimble, bimble, bimble. Careless People, a story of where I used to work currently, and it feels like you're buying a naughty book because it's been like banned in countries now, and all the rest of it. So Careless People, story of where I used to work, by and read by Sarah Wynn-Williams. Came out on the 13th of March, 2025, 13 hours and 16 minutes of sizzling revelation from Macmillan. Now, next week, quite the opposite, actually, because you're going to send us to sleep.
Well, I was hoping to. So one of the things that we like to do here is go, fiction or non-fiction, do we like the story or do we want to learn something? There's some interesting things. I had an audio book back in 2015 that changed my life. It was called Night School. It was by a man named Richard Wiseman, and had all sorts of interesting facts about sleep. The fact that if you put someone in a cave underground with no light source, they will accidentally or eventually go to a 25-hour clock. Their days will be measured in 25 hours. There's a sentence in that book, and we'll talk about it next week, that changed my life. And it's really, I learned a lot from the book, but there was one sentence in it in particular that changed my life. Unfortunately, I've managed to find it in my library, but I can't click on it or go through it. So it's no longer in publication, although I still have access to it. So what I've done is I've gone for what is apparently the best book on the topic available on Audible as we speak right now. There's loads of sort of sleep hypnosis and sleep music and all that type of stuff, but this seems to be the most notable academic non-fiction-y work It's called Why We Sleep, The Science of Sleep and Dreams. It's by Matthew Walker, narrated by John Sackville, 13 hours 31. Came out about 8 years ago. So maybe the whole sleep science thing has died off and I'm out of date. But so next week we shall speak of sleep, Steve.
And maybe we should do it in the whole episode in the style of ASMR. Which
No.
is also very popular for getting people to sleep, where we just whisper and make some noises. And, yeah.
We've just done an episode where somebody is creepily shouting, "Come to bed." I don't think it would be a good idea for us to do it in our creepy voices.
Okay, in that case, I'll
also,
just
I find I'm listening to myself in my headphones. It's not particularly relaxing whispering into a microphone. It's a little bit spiky, the sound, isn't it?
It's a little unsettling, mate. Actually,
exactly.
It's quite harrowing, in fact.
You might want to have a shower after that. Not in a good way.
A comb over this microphone instead, to make the sounds, all ASMR-y. There we go. So that's Why We Sleep. The New Science of Sleep and Dreams by Matthew Walker, read by John Sackville. Comes in at 13 hours, 31 minutes. If you want to join us in reading that, if you want to join us in the discussion, we are on Blue Sky. And speaking of which, with the social networking thing and how much we think it's all a load of it's all run by crooks and everything. It's we don't think that, of course. That's alleged. You can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram at Audiobook Show. Hashtag is Audiobook Club on all the socials. What are you reading at the moment? Let us know. Then we will start reading it as well and telling everyone else to. Also, got a few great people coming up in the next few weeks as well. Got a guest coming on the week after that. So stay tuned. This is Audio Book Club, and I've been Steve Phillips, and you've been. Good night.
Audio Book Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.